So evaluating a piecewise function can be a little bit tricky depending on the situation. So generally you're going to be given a problem that looks something like this. You may also be given a graph, and it'll say something to the effect of find f of 4. So first of all, we need to dissect what exactly is being asked of us here. So when it says f of 4, what it's telling you is that they want to know when x equals 4, what does y equal? Okay, so then we have to go through and figure out which equation are we looking at. Because remember, a piecewise function is multiple equations kind of put together to make a graph. That's why it's called piecewise. So they're telling us x is 4. So I need to figure out which piece would I be dealing with if x is 4. So this piece here is dealing with when x is smaller than -2. So this would be values like -4, -3, up to -2.001. This one would be for anything bigger than -2. So this must be how we would deal with it. So when we're talking about f of 4, we're going to be using this equation. A lot of kids panic when they see this because they think, well, there's no x value. What do? I don't understand. But if there's no x or anywhere for you to plug in your number, that means that whatever they tell you is the answer. So in this case, f of 4 would be -4. But what about if I asked you to use or to find a different answer? What if I instead asked for f of -7? So again, they're telling us, in this case, x is -7. What's y? So if I look at my functions, this is for anything bigger than -2, and this is for anything smaller. So we're going to be using our top function in this case, meaning our number plus 5. So I just need to plug in whatever they told me. So instead of saying x plus 5, I'm going to say -7 plus 5, which gives me an answer of -2. So thus, f of -7 is -2. So that's how you would go about evaluating piecewise functions. So let's try another example. So let's say f of 0 is, and f of -5 is. Okay, so for f of 0, so I'm looking for which one of these functions deals with 0. So this is for anything smaller than 1. You'll notice I like to write that down for myself because when I have it in words, for some reason it makes more sense to me. So this is for when smaller than 1. This is for bigger than 1. Okay, so 0 is smaller than 1, which means I'm going to use this function. So 2 times 0 plus 1 would be 1. Then, on the other side of it, f of -5. So that again is smaller than 1, so I would plug it in. 2 times -5 plus 1, which is -10 plus 1, or -9. So evaluating with equations is pretty straightforward. However, if I'm looking at a graph, it can be a little bit more challenging. So let's say, for example, I was looking at a graph that looked like this. And I asked you f of 2. First of all, you need to figure out where 2 is on the graph. Again, I'm telling you x is 2, find y. So on my graph, I would go to the line x is 2. Now you should already recognize that open circle means I'm talking about every value up to 2 but not quite 2. So we're not using this point in this case. We would be using this one, meaning my y value is 3. One more time with that, if I were to make up a graph for us, and I asked you for f of 5. First thing you need to do is figure out where is 5 on the graph. So I would go along, find 5, which is right here, and I'm just looking for whatever y value I'm using, which would be 3. Or, if I were to give you another example, if I said f of -8. So I need to go find -8 on the graph, find the y value that matches up with it, which in this case would be 4. So that's how you go through and evaluate a piecewise function.